Microsoft came out with some news this morning, straight out of nowhere. Justin Haywald, GameSpot news editor, please explain to the folks at home what we know so far about this announcement.
So, I wouldn't say that this was completely out of nowhere. This is something we've been conjecturing about for months now. That not only has the Xbox One gone through a $100 price cut, putting it at parity with the PlayStation 4, which it's needed to do for a while, but they've also gotten rid of the Kinect. We've said that the Kinect is the thing that's raising the price, that makes it $100 more expensive, and they've finally just gotten rid of it. They've, it's surprising because they've said we're not going to get rid of it, and I thought maybe they'll do something else to get that price down. So it's a little surprising that they've reversed the focus on Kinect and to make that the thing that will make the price lower. But it's not surprising in that they needed to do something that would lower that price.
Yeah.
And as we've seen, Kinect isn't terribly popular. There aren't a lot of games, Fantasia notwithstanding. There's a Kinect sports game. There's not a lot of other games that use Kinect that make it an integral part of it. So if you're going to cut anything, I mean, that's one of the things that has to go.
So what is the price point now? What are we talking about?
Right now, it is a $399 machine. You can still get it connected. It's still a standalone thing. They haven't announced a price for that, but we're probably going to guess about $100.
Yeah,
because that's how much they've reversed it.
Is the old bundle of $499 for Xbox One with Kinect still happening, or are they just replacing that SKU with the one?
I mean, this is good news because it's giving people choices. If you want the Kinect right now, you can still get the Xbox One that they offer right now with the Kinect bundled in, or you can get the $399 version with no Kinect.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's a smart move. It's something that they've needed to do, but it's definitely not great for probably some developers who have put a lot of time and effort into these Kinect games. But do you guys play anything on Kinect?
That's the thing. I was pondering about this earlier on, and it's also maybe worth mentioning briefly as well that it's gone down to £350 in the UK, which is a substantially less price drop. It's only 50 quid. So, like, I think in equivalent dollars, there's still like $100 difference between. It's outrageous. And also, I believe this isn't coming to Ireland yet because that's in the Eurozone. But I was thinking about this morning. I have always wanted that one good Kinect game to come out. I feel like during the 360, I was thinking the same thing. I was like, one game that'll make this thing worthwhile, and it'll all kick off. I was kind of happy when they brought the Xbox One version. They made it standardized because I thought it's going to be quite cool because now people are going to be encouraged to make good Kinect games.
Yes.
It's never happened.
How much time have they had to work with it? What games are even out for Kinect now? You've got Kinect Sports Rivals, which there's like one or two decent games in there, but then the rest of it, I mean, most of the emphasis on Kinect at this point, I feel like, has been UI management.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the best thing for it.
Xbox do this thing. And even that is like 80% for me, and I have to use a stern voice that my wife hates, I don't use it.
And also, that's fixing a problem with the UI that shouldn't really exist in the first place. It's only better to use it with the voice because that interface is actually kind of a mess.
Like the whole My Games and Apps thing, I don't know.
But it's really nice to be able to turn your Xbox on just by speaking to it.
Yep.
Like that is cool. Like whenever I use something like that, it feels like the future. And then when it does work, like that still also feels like the future.
That's
when you're
true.
Like Xbox, Netflix, and it does exactly what you want it to. But like you said, it doesn't work quite enough. And the things that it adds to games are these small add-ons. It's not you can't use a full-featured game. You can't have a game that's only movement because that's tiring. Like when we play games, we want to sit down on the couch. You want to relax for a bit. So having a game that only uses Kinect is tiring.
Well,
it's something you're only going to do for a little bit.
You need to commit to a Dance Central, which are excellent Kinect games.
Yes.
You need to commit to a Gunstringer, which is actually like way less of a physical investment than Dance Central.
Because you can sit there. And
because you can do that thing, and that game was really good. But I guess my big question with this is why in the middle of May did they announce this?
So that's the other really interesting thing about this. This is an E3 level announcement. Like this is a bombshell. This is the kind of thing that you just come out and like $100 price drop. The fact that they're doing this in May is basically saying we are so confident in what we have lined up for E3. We're going to make this all seriously. We're making this about the games. We've already talked about TV and shows. We've pushed that out of the way. They've talked about the console and the price point. Pushed that out of the way, and that's going to make E3 about the games.
It could also be a damage limitation thing because no matter what they talked about at E3, even if they announced wonderful unannounced games that nobody knows about yet, the narrative was always going to be Kinect is gone, especially if they had announced it at E3, especially considering what happened last year. And maybe they don't want the second E3 in a row to be the story being that Microsoft have,
the story of how they reversed this thing and went back on that thing and changed their plan that they had previously tried to hard sell us.
But it's nice that it is going to have a focus on the games. I mean, we're going to talk about PlayStation 4 and Xbox One games. We're not going to be discussing some kind of thing about the hardware or anything like that. Like, that's going to make E3 really about the games. And from Nintendo's point of view as well, like, we're probably going to hear something about their quality of life stuff because they've been talking about that for such a long time. But for them as well, it's going to be about the games. And that makes E3 itself, like, so much fun. That's like, this is the E3 that's all about games you haven't heard of before and, sequels to games that we've just been anticipating for such a long time.
Here's hoping.
I got some questions. I asked some folks on Twitter earlier today, what the people who owned Xbox Ones, what they felt about it. Craig Sutherland said, happy and sad. It's too bad that this pretty much means that the Kinect is dead, but it could also help the Xbox One succeed in the long run. Do you think this is basically the death knell of Kinect, that when people are given the option that at retail they're going to opt for the cheaper one without the funny camera?
Well, yeah, I mean, they're going to go for the cheaper one. This puts the impetus on Microsoft to create experiences for the Kinect to make it have a long life. Yeah, I mean, really, the Kinect hasn't had much of a life beforehand. We've had Kinect with Xbox 360, and outside of the really cool music experiences like Dance Central, I never use it. Microsoft, the fitness game, Nike Plus, Nike Fitness Connect, Flow, whatever. Like, that was also really good. And those are the only two games that I can think of that I loved having Kinect for. Gunstringer was cool, but
we've got a big proponent of the UFC fighting fitness game as well, but I feel like the problem with Kinect now is the same problem I had before, right? It's a peripheral, so you need to justify that big extra expense. Why are people going to buy it? When it was bundled in with the Xbox One, people, I had it and I was like, sure, I'll give voice commands a try. I'm not going to buy it for voice commands. I'm going to buy it if there's a game, if there's a compelling reason. Maybe I would buy it for Skype, but then I have a laptop with a camera in it, so I use it for Skype. But those sort of add-on benefits, I think it's going to be tough for them to message how those little things are part of the Kinect value proposition, and they need something bigger. They're going to need to bundle it with Fantasia or with something else in order to really help people get over that extra hump of spending that extra $100 now.
I wonder if that's something we might hear about at E3 then. In that case.
And speaking about Skype, we also learned that that's going to be part of everybody's experience on Xbox now. You don't have to pay for gold in order to access things like Skype, in order to access things like Netflix and those movie applications, which before were trapped behind that paywall, which made it just such a ridiculous proposition to pay extra for gold when this is something that you can get for free on everything, on your computer, on your PlayStation 4, sometimes on your TV. And
it was actually the reason the iPlayer for BBC had such a hard time getting on as well, because they legally weren't allowed to charge for that service at all. There's some other information in relation to that stuff as well, tertiary stuff, like for instance the free games on the 360 is going to come to Xbox One in June.
Which we knew was going to happen, and just finally confirming this is going to happen, no, seriously guys, we're doing it. And for the anniversary of Games with Gold, you're going to have 3 games coming in June, which is kind of cool for people that have been investing in it for quite a while.
They haven't announced the game specifically, right?
I think, no, we had Dark Souls, Charlie Murdered, and one other game which is escaping my...
Okay, I saw Max the Cursed Brotherhood and Halo Spartan Assault. Yeah, maybe Halo Spartan Assault as well.
Yes.
Last point, and this is, I think, a very salient one I saw on Twitter earlier as well. DeWeave24 said, it's a bad idea by Microsoft. Kinect is the only thing that makes the console different. What if Xbox drops the price further than the PS4? Has Microsoft basically made itself so homogenized by taking all the stuff that they went on about last year at E3, they've reversed essentially on all the fundamentally important ones? Have they just made it so that they've given people no reason now to choose between the two?
I wouldn't really say that's the case. The PlayStation 4 and the Xbox, just by themselves, offer 2 very different UI experiences. When one of the things that Xbox offers is the ability to switch between applications, like sliding, having 2 things running at the same time, which PlayStation doesn't quite do as well. And then some people prefer the Twitch experience on Xbox One over PlayStation 4. And the movie experiences, I found that Netflix is very different between PS4 and Xbox One. I actually just prefer using my TV because that's a lot quicker and easier. But I wouldn't say that they're that similar, especially when you compare it to the PC. I mean, the game's architecture, the way that we experience games is really homogenized between everything. We get this very similar experiences. And this could really push Microsoft to try to get more exclusives in the same way that Sony is known for games like Sony Santa Monica having Last of Us and God of War. Like, I think this will only push Microsoft to put even more into those exclusives to get games that you're not going to be able to get anyplace else. Because do you really need like a completely different way of interacting with that console? Like, why is that the thing that needs to set it apart? We want the things that set it apart to be the games. And I mean, you can't forget that we also have the Xbox Live entertainment services. Like, they're going to be rolling out these news and not news. They're going to be rolling out these
the Halo TV show,
and they have a comedy program and some other just original programming.
I bet that comedy program won't be very funny. I'm putting money on it right now.
Louis C.K., Sarah Silverman were involved in it.
Okay, that sounds pretty good.
Yeah,
your money's down already, Danny.
I was down as soon as they said we have a comedy program. I was like, that's gonna suck. And then Sarah Silverman came on, and Louis C.K. was like, oh, that might not suck.
All right, we'll have to wait and see. Justin Haywell, thank you very much for coming on.
Thanks for letting me.
A whole bunch of mess about Kinect. We're going to be back.